It's probably the most important Supreme Court case that you've never heard of. It's a case from the 1980s called Chevron Corporation, and it gave us something called the Chevron Doctrine. Currently, this doctrine is being reviewed by the Supreme Court of the United States in a case called Loper Bright Enterprises. So today I'm going to briefly explain why this is important. The Chevron Doctrine is an idea that the federal courts have to give deference to the decisions that federal government agencies make when they're interpreting federal statutes. So if a federal statute says that the Environmental Protection Agency shall issue regulations to protect endangered species, and they define what an endangered species is and then tell the EPA, have at it, go make a list. And the EPA comes out and says, we think, golden retrievers are on the list. Up until now, since the 1980s, the federal courts have said that they have to defer to the EPA's decision about that. They have to give it a lot of deference. They have to first decide whether there's any ambiguity in the way Congress wrote the statute, and if there is, then they generally are going to have to go with the EPA's decision unless it's clearly wrong. But a lot of people have questioned that. They've said, our Constitution set up federal courts to make these decisions, not some administrative branch. And so as a result, in a case that's currently before the Supreme Court right now, this whole decision is being re-examined. Now you might think, gosh, that sounds boring. Why does that affect me? The truth is that there are thousands of things in American life every day that depend on the decisions made by federal administrative agencies. These are people who are hired, who generally are supposed to be experts in their field, who make decisions about what they think the law should mean as it's written in federal statutes. But as a result, Congress and our courts have generally begun deferring more and more power to these unelected officials who often come from a very specific viewpoint. And a lot of people have questioned whether that's been good for the country. If you're interested in this issue, you should listen to the oral arguments that were had on this. It's a very interesting issue, and we're going to get a decision shortly. Based on a lot of what's come out even since that decision was made, it sounds like the court is going to overrule Chevron Doctrine. That's going to mean a lot more decisions are going to be made by Congress and our federal courts rather than the administrative officers who've previously made those decisions.